Hello, and welcome to Dragon Law Group's video tutorial series. Today, we are looking at how to do a basic search on the Federal Trademark Database System. A couple of preliminary notes on this. Nothing in this video is intended to be or should be taken as legal advice. Every business's specific situation is unique, and so seek out the counsel of an attorney if you need to apply for a trademark or have general questions on a trademark. We have other blogs and podcasts that get into why you may or may not want to apply for a trademark search, what a trademark actually does for you and what it doesn't do for you. None of this is going to be discussed in this video. This is simply how you actually get around to doing a search on the federal government's website. So we assume that you've either made the decision that you want a trademark or you haven't. A couple of notes, though, relating to that is if you have decided that you want a trademark, before you go and have pay somebody to design a trademark for your business or company, or before you do it yourself and spend time and money creating one, you definitely want to do a preliminary search to make sure generally that trademark is going to be available if you do apply for one. And so before you design one, you definitely want to do a search like this to get an idea. Before we jump into the federal government's trademark search database, let's first kind of consider some preliminary things you can do when searching for a trademark. And the first thing that I advise everybody is to do a Google search before you do a trademark search. In today's age, we have the benefit of Google being able to provide information instead of just simply going to the books or the harder search databases. And you can usually find out pretty quickly through Google whether or not there's an obvious trademark that exists before you waste your time on the federal government's website. For example, let's say you didn't know anything about the Ford Motor Company. Now, of course, everybody knows what Ford Motor Company is, but just for a good example, let's pretend you don't. And you have a trademark that contains the words Ford or the name Ford, and you just kind of want to know if it exists, if there's a trademark out there, so you do Ford. And the first thing that's going to pop up on Google is a whole bunch of Ford information. The Ford Motor Company pops up right here. There's its trademark. You can even click images, and you're going to get a whole bunch of trademarks. So if you knew nothing about Ford and you were curious about doing a trademark in Ford, simply by doing a Google search, you're going to know that there's a big company out there that's already using the term Ford. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't use a trademark with the word Ford in it, or even just the word Ford, because you still may be able to use it if you're in a different industry than the automaker, or if it looks substantially different than their trademark logo. But if you're in the preliminary phases of trying to figure out what your trademark should be, and you come up with an idea and you do a Google search and it's obvious that somebody else has it, some big company has it, you might just want to come up with something different, just because why go down that road if you don't need to? But you could still if you wanted to. It's not really that big of a deal, just depending on what you're doing. Obviously, for this example, if you're in the automaking industry, no, you cannot use Ford as a trademark. End of story. Create something else. But let's say you had something that was less obvious. And let's say, I don't know, you have a company and you want to call it Happy Days. Maybe it's a senior citizen center or something. I don't know. But let's just say you want to say Happy Days. So you search in Happy Days. And the first thing, I just made that term up. But of course, there was a series called Happy Days. You can look at this, disregard that because that's an old show. Probably has nothing to do with what you're doing. And you can click images. And what I'm getting here from these results is that most of it has to do with this show that was in, I don't know, when was this 80s, maybe, but not any sort of product or industry. So it's not obvious that this is in here. So that might be an example. Okay, this is a trademark I want to do. It's not readily apparent that some other companies use it. So let's go on to the next level. So we did the Google search first and save you a lot of time simply by going to Google before you get into the search of trademark database. All right, so you're ready to do a search on the federal system. This is where you would go, www.uspto.gov/trademarks/search. It'll bring you to this page. Then you click on here, and this is the Federal Database System. Now, it's not exactly user-friendly. It's not this system. It's a little hard to even look at the way they have the text at. But once you get a basic understanding of how to use it, you can use it. It does make sense, but it does take a little upfront learning, which is the point of this video. Okay, so when you come into this screen, you're going to see three options: basic word smart search, new user, word and or design, structured, and word or design search freeform. And basically, the further you go down on this three list, the more hands-on you're going to want to be as far as understanding how this works. This is the first place new user is going to start, or anytime you're just doing some preliminary searches, you go here. And this is the basic search. And as you can see, you have the search term, you have one box for the search term. So this is you're going to plug in anything here that is the text of your trademark. Usually trademarks are a combination of text and a symbol. A lot of times it's just a symbol, like the Nike symbol, for instance. So if you just have a symbol, this isn't going to help you because you can't put any text in here. But if it does have text, you can go here. So using our Ford example, as we did before, let's use the term Ford. And if you hit submit search, it's going to pop out any business or person that has applied for or received trademark that has the words Ford in it, the letters Ford. Okay, so we hit submit query, and as you can see, it pops out results of over 1,500 results. And that's not very helpful because you don't have time to go through all these results and determine whether or not it's a similar trademark to the one you have. It's just way too overbroad. And as you can see, it's not even limiting the results just to one word, Ford. It will include it wherever it pops up in the trademark. So we need to narrow these results. And to do that, we need to up our search abilities. And we click on the second one, and this says word and or design mark search structure. Okay, so this is the next level up in complexity from the first level up. And you can see immediately that we have two search terms we can put in now, okay? But that's probably not gonna help you if you don't understand what these search terms are for. Never fear, that's what this video is for. Okay, so the first one, we have the first search term, like we did before, let's type in Ford. Now you're gonna get to here, and the first time you're ever doing it, this is gonna confuse you because you don't know what these drop downs mean. I'll explain. Well, I'm not going to explain all of them, but I'm going to explain the big ones. So for our search, let's do basic index. What does that mean? Well, that's pretty similar to the search we did in the previous field. And it's looking for, the database is looking for any trademark that has the word Ford or the letters F-O-R-D within the trademark itself. So this is going to pop up the same results that we had before. Not exactly the same, pretty similar. And then what we're doing here, so we go, okay, we're looking for trademarks that have the word Ford within it, okay, and or this. So this is the adjective between the two search terms that's going to help narrow the results down. I am not going to get into some of these more advanced terms. I'm just going to focus or and not. So for Ford, for instance, if you did Ford and you put or, you are adding to the results that we did initially with a basic index. For instance, if we put Ford or Starbucks and we select basic index, what this is asking for, what you're asking the system to do is produce any trademarks that have the word Ford within it or the word Starbucks within it. And that is going to give us more results than what we had before. Okay, because it's two different areas we're looking. So how would you narrow that down? Instead of hitting or, you would say and. So what this is saying is, instead of saying, look for any trademarks that contain either Ford or Starbucks, we're looking for only trademarks that have both Ford and Starbucks within the trademark. And we hit search, and there's no results. And the reason why there's no results is no such trademark exists. So if you had a trademark that had Ford and Starbucks within it, that's pretty good sign that you could probably apply for one. But again, the test is not whether or not it's an exact match. The test is whether or not there's another trademark that is similar to the one you're applying for. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, I described this drop-down box briefly before, and I said that within it you have this basic index is what we search for, and that's saying any trademark terms that have the exact words for it in it. But there's different things you can do. Okay, instead of, for instance, looking for trademarks with the word Ford in it, you could look for trademarks that are in international class. You're probably asking yourself, what is an international class? International class is a code that's used to determine what market the trademark is in. For instance, are you in the market of the sale of goods, products, or are you in the market of services? Those are different markets, so there's a code that goes along with that. You're probably confused. Let me explain by example. So what you'd want to do if you're using international class, for instance, is type in international class into Google, and you're going to get a list from different sources, because it's all the same class, of these different classes. Now, and that means market area. So this class 1 is chemicals for the use in industry, science, blah, 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 blah. So that's the industry that falls into class 1. So let's do a search, which you come out find vehicles. So, because remember, Ford is in the business of producing vehicles. And as you can see, this doesn't apply, but class 12 does apply. Vehicles. Okay, so how does this make sense? So remember, it's class 12. So let's say you knew nothing about Ford and you were in your new business is in the automotive production business. So what you would do is say, okay, and you wanted to narrow your results. So you would type in Ford, put in basic index, and then you'd want to put in the class, it was class 12. So we put in 0, 1, 2, and we put in international class, and we hit submit. So now, simply by doing that, we have told the system that we want any trademarks that contain the word Ford and that the owner of that trademark is in the business of automobiles. And it narrowed it down from 1,500 results to 121 results with the most relevant on top. And look what pops up. So it's a little ways down, but as you can see, we see the Ford trademark because we told the system find any trademarks with the words Ford in our industry. And there it is, Ford. So if we were looking, we would know, hey, this is similar to the one that you may want to do for your, or in our hypothetical, the person may want to do in the automotive industry, and probably stay away from that. But let's just say that instead of 121 results when we did this search, we had another 1,500 or something. So it didn't really narrow it down enough. Well, now you've got to do another level to get results you can work with. And we add additional levels, because remember, this second one only allowed us to add 2, either and or. But now with this third level, this free system, we can add as many levels as we can. Okay, now I want you to notice something. I didn't really explain this before, but if you look down here, these were the codes that we were putting in the box. For instance, basic index right here. Back here, we had the drop-down arrow that gave us basic index. We wanted to select that category. And again, that's just simply if the words appear within the trademark. Okay, in this form, we have all the little abbreviations for those types of drop-down fields. International class, we discussed that in the last segment, but that's the code for international class. So this can seem a little complicated, but again, you just got to practice with it and you probably get an idea of what you want to do. So here, this is how this works. Before, we had 2 search options at the most. You could put in, for instance, we did Ford, basic index, and we did the industry that Ford Motor Companies is in. But what if you wanted to add additional filters? Well, you can add as many as you want, and they're all here. This is how you put it in. So to do the exact same search that we did before, Okay, we would say Ford, type in the word Ford, then you open parent or open bracket, like the way it is here. Remember, we said that was basic index, which again is any trademark that contains the word Ford. So that's telling the system I'm looking for the word Ford within any trademark. If you went to this screen and simply typed in Ford, you're not going to get everything that could possibly have anything to do with the word Ford, and that's, you can't work with that. So we go basic index, okay, and then we're going to say, if you recall, you had the option of doing and or and we clicked and. So this is saying Ford in any that actually appears in the trademark, and the second search was international class, and we said that international class was 12. So we're going 0, 1, 2. That's the code. It was international class 12. It has to be three digits. So you put a 0 before it, and then we go 0, 1, 2, IC, and we click submit query. You notice that it is 121 results. These are the identical results search we did it in the second search option. We're just doing it in what they call the free form. Okay, so it's the exact same search, but it's a little more hands-on because we have to put this information into the search. We connect it with the and. You could change this to or, but remember we're adding with or, so we're going to get a lot more results. This result, for example, includes every trademark that contains the word Ford, plus every trademark that's registered in international class 12, and that's going to add a bunch of results. Okay, but the point is, if you had a bunch of results, you could start narrowing it down based on all these different codes. So if you're still getting way too many results after 2 searches with an and, you could keep going down with your specific industry. And this gives you all the possible codes you could use that may or may not be relevant to your industry. For instance, we go Ford, basic index, and international class 12. And you know what? I'm only interested in marks that are actually in use, alive, as they use. So I go live LD. And I knew that because it says right here, LD is the abbreviation that I put in there, and live. Okay, what did that just do? I just asked the system, give me every trademark that has the word Ford that's within the automobile industry and that is actually being used. We went from 121 to 51, and that is much more manageable. And now we can click on wherever Ford is. And there you go. That's another trademark that Ford has. So I hope this video helped you understand how to generally use the Federal Trademark Database System. Again, this is just a basic preliminary search, but what you'll find is just by understanding, for instance, how to put in search terms like this, you can start to use this system. And if you wanted to know more about, well, what does this actually mean? Like, what does current basis mean? I don't even know what that means. You can click on it and it's going to give an explanation. And if that doesn't really help, you can always do a Google search. But the general goal of using this is simply get the list down to a workable number of results. I mean, you can't go through 1,500, but you might be able to go through 51 if you wanted to. Next video, we're going to talk about design, which is very important. That's why I broke it up into separate videos, the actual look of the trademark and how to use this to find whether or not there's a similar design, like Nike, for instance, the Nike swish. You're going to need to know whether or not that's available. That's complicated, so we're breaking up into multiple videos, but that will be in the next video. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out at jdragon@dragonlawgroup.com or go to dragonlawgroup.com. Thank you. Bye.